We've been the best team over the last 4 years. We've been the best team. It just seems like it's a silly thing to say.
I would agree.
When you don't hoist that Lombardi. It's like, yeah, you may have had the best opportunities to win, but you haven't been the best team. Oh, baby, oh, baby, oh, baby. Oh, baby. Kevin Burkhardt on a call, Fox Sports, and Josh Jacobs runs for 3 touchdowns and over 100 yards, becoming the first Packer to do so since Dorsey Levens. And the Niners give up a 100-yard rusher for the first time in 55 regular season games. And they were just all-time soft yesterday. Defensively, offensively, special teams, coaching. It was just an embarrassing day. With that said, the silver lining is they're a game out in first place in the NFC West.
I'm not allowing that today. No.
But hold on. Let me speak. No, the facts are the facts. They're a game out of first place in the NFC West, but this doesn't look like a division title winning team at all. It just doesn't. They don't have enough bodies. They get dominated in the trenches. First downs go 20-11 Green Bay's way. They hold the ball for nearly 37 minutes of action. They set the tone on the opening drive, killing up 7 minutes and 25 seconds off the clock. And where do we go from here? But look, Brendan Allen is who he is. Shasky, as I say, good morning to everybody out there getting off the graveyard shift. Please drive safely in this rain. It is nasty out there. The Niners get just obliterated 38-10. And where do you go from here? Where you go to Buffalo, where you got to take on Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills coming off a bye week on Sunday Night Football. Doesn't look pretty, right? McCaffrey doesn't look pretty. Fred Warner, when's he going to make a play again? Deebo Samuel, when's he going to make a play again? This is bad. This is all-time bad under Kyle Shanahan here. So we're going to talk all about it. We're going to talk all about it. What went wrong? Was the game lost before the game started, Shasky? Because it felt like the game was maybe lost Friday night when we all found out that Brendan Allen was hit the start for the first time in 3 years that he's going to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. I didn't think they had a shot going in, Shasky.
I'm not even mad at Brandon Allen. I mean, I know he made some horrific fumbles in the pocket and just a couple of, whoa, what are you doing throws? But he also made a bunch of nice throws. Like, if we're being fair on this one, I didn't think Brandon Allen won or lost them this game. It's just your point about the math, and I'm not trying to jump down your road. You're factually correct regarding, like, well, they're only a game out. Technically, it's more like 2 games because they don't have any tiebreakers, and I understand that. My eyeballs are telling me, like, this team has just hit the wall. That's what my eyeballs are telling me.
I'm not trying to sell anybody.
No, I didn't say that.
I'm not trying to sell anybody on this being a NFC West title-winning team. But the division is not good.
No doubt.
And the fact is that the Niners have regressed back to the mean with the rest of the Rams and the Cardinals. And it's because the Cardinals, Seahawks, and Rams, they're not good football teams.
No.
They're not. They're average football teams. But the Niners are an average football team this season, and there's just too much to overcome. It just feels like it's one of those years where it's going to be too much to overcome, whether it's the training camp holdouts, whether it's CMC, whether it's coaching. There's a plethora of things we're going to get into today. But one guy, I'm going to let you go here, Shasky. One guy I want to touch on. Well, actually, you touch on something first because there's somebody I want to call out. And I want to talk about leadership, being a captain, being a guy who the team can look up to, say, okay, when the chips are down, we can count on this guy to make a play. When things don't go right, okay, this guy's going to stand up in front of the team and talk and explain himself. Like I see Fred Warner every single week. Talk to the podium. He goes, talks to the media, talks to the fan base. Win or lose. George Kittle, same thing. Kyle Shanahan, same thing. Christian McCaffrey. Even Nick Bosa gets his ass up there at the podium. It speaks. Now, he may not give you the answer you want, but he speaks. For Deebo Samuel to not speak to the media after that game yesterday, and after the 2-game stretch he's had, after chopping Tabor Pepper in the neck, and everybody's saying, oh, he's a long snapper, he deserved it, Team Deebo, blah, 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 blah. But he did that, and it got caught on film. And he's got a C on his chest as a captain of the football team. And as a leader, you don't like to see those things. But, everybody washed it away. They won the game against Tampa. Shanahan said, hey, Deebo didn't like what he said, blah, blah, blah. Then he goes out there the last 2 weeks, and he puts that on tape. He puts that on tape of what he did yesterday in Green Bay. A couple drop passes, 1 catch. I mean, it was awful. And then you don't speak to the media. There's 6 games left in the season. It could be the final 6 games of Deebo Samuel's tenure with the San Francisco 49ers. And it's not ending well. It feels sort of like Klay Thompson last season when he goes 0 for 10 in a play-in game and everybody's all over Klay. But at least Klay, from the All-Star break on, he produced and showed up. Whether you like it or not, he showed up. Deebo Samuel, the lack of burst, the lack of route running, the lack of accountability, clapping back at T.O., worried about Twitter and all that stuff. Yesterday was very disappointing to see, number one, Deebo Samuel put in that performance on the day they needed him, on the day they looked for him to make a net play and to help out this third string, second string, whatever quarterback he is, Brendan Allen. I walked away from that game yesterday highly disappointed in Deebo Samuel.
So you're just mad that he didn't talk to the media? I'm trying to because if I'm him, I'm just furious in general. The way this season has gone, I've been dangled in trade rumors, for the last basically year and a half. I did rework some of my money to try to make things work, and I have a big time return to start the second half, and it's called back again by a special teams penalty. They had 3 consecutive special teams penalties, right? So. Look, I'm not going to defend what I call there's a level of cowardice not talking to the media. I acknowledge.
It's not what I'm mad at. After all that said, it's not about being mad at him not talking about the media. But if you want to be a captain for this franchise and one of the leaders for this franchise, and on a day like that, 38-10, and you say, yeah, I declined to speak to reporters after what you put together on tape the last 2 weeks, after what happened in Tampa. We can't ignore what happened in Tampa Bay to Tabor Pepper. A lot of people didn't like what Deebo Samuel did to Tabor Pepper. And you do that, you win the game, whatever, bygones be bygones, you work it out before you get on the flight, that's fine. But the last 2 weeks with Deebo Samuel at the wide receiver position have been subpar. I mean, what did he have last week? Yes, he had a 4 catches, 22 yards with Brock Purdy.
He hasn't done
burst.
No,
he hasn't done anything.
He hasn't done anything.
He does, and so as a leader of this football team, and when you talk the talk that you talk, week in and week out, because we hear from Deebo, and I got no problem with Deebo Samuel. But boy, that's not a good look yesterday.
Well, of course.
It's not a good look. And you drop the passes, the game-changing interception. The Niners were in that game whether we like it or not. They were in that football game. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not impressed with Green Bay.
Well,
Green Bay was not impressive whatsoever to me.
I mean, they got multiple stops. They had the ball in the fourth quarter. Brandon Allen's got the ball. God, I wish he was Josh Allen. And he just fumbles it in the middle of the pocket. And the defense got multiple stops. They also dropped a million turnovers. I don't know, B, the Deebo thing, for me, it's not the end of the world. I don't really care if he talks or not. I don't want to hear him on his podcast. I don't think he's the greatest at a podium, but I understand the leadership factor.
It's leadership. It's accountability. And you put together what you put together on tape. When you talk that talk and you can't get separation from quarterbacks, and when people press man you can't get open, and then T.O. says something tongue-in-cheek, whether you believe that or not, and you get on Twitter and you're replying to everybody on Twitter, no, it's not cool.
Okay,
it's not cool.
That's true.
And so you're playing yourself. These last 6 games, it matters to the fans. It matters to the fans how it looks. How you going to go out? Because this could be your last year as a 49er. And yeah, your name's been in trade rumors. Who hasn't? Everybody gets traded. Everybody's been in the rumor here and there. But just the fact that went down after yesterday's game, that doesn't sit right with me. Okay. I'm not mad about it. I'm just telling you, last 2 weeks have been suboptimal for Deebo Samuel. And he's a playmaker.
Well, you know what doesn't sit well with me? The first half alone, 15 missed tackles. 12 by Josh Jacobs runs. You know what doesn't sit well with me? 4 pre-snap penalties by my offensive line. I think 3 by Pooney alone. You know what doesn't sit well with me? 3 consecutive special teams mistakes, penalties, negating huge chunk yards, one of which was the Deebo 80-yard run. You know what also doesn't sit well with me? The ball going right through his hands and leading to an interception. To me, it's about execution and details, and I understand there's a leadership component that I acknowledge, but this morning, I'm looking at a team that needs a complete rebuild on the trenches. They're just getting dominated up front. Can't stop the run. I'm looking at an offense that looks really stale, and even then, they did kind of move the ball, yet you drafted a guy in the first round who can't sniff a target. And that's with Brandon Ayuk, who you paid $30 million out. Why are we investing first-round picks in guys I'm not going to target? I got a CMC issue where I don't know, is this just who he is now? Do you shut him down and pray to God that he gets his burst back? I have no idea. I saw reports he sat in a locker after addressing the media for 15 or 20 minutes straight and just sat down and was staring into the abyss.
Yeah, why wouldn't you? This season's been lost for him.
And
Jordan Mason in one run yesterday looked as impressive as CMC has in his return. In the 3 games since he's
Mason
been
and
back.
Garendo have fumbled like 4 times in the last 2 weeks. And I love both guys, but it feels like when they touch the ball, as the coach, I understand being a little reluctant because they're literally, but again, Kyle, you have 2 guys who are running backs who aren't kick returners playing kick returner. And they're fumbling on kick returns, and then you're taking out on them in terms of their snaps at running back. They got gashed up the middle so bad yesterday by Josh Jacobs in the first half. Jordan Love threw balls up in the air. Renardo Green dropped one. Mustafa dropped one. Tig Brown dropped one. This team has so many problems. And the leadership at the podium and everybody getting theirs in terms of money. Trent looking, I'm going to call it what it is. I've thought this for a while. Trent Williams looks like a front runner. Anytime things are kind of against them or whatever, he kind of bows out or he takes kind of what I deem to be the cheap shot on his way out of a loss. And this team right now looks old, overpaid. They look like the season can't come to an end quick enough. Fred Warner hasn't made a play in what feels like a month, and I love the guy, and I feel like he's hobbled out there. D. Winters makes a play. He's sitting behind Devondre Campbell for weeks on end. What are we doing?
Let me ask you, though. It doesn't look good at all.
At all.
At all, right? Doesn't look good at all. This division doesn't look good at all.
I don't care about the division.
I know, but I do.
Form matters.
I do. But you know what? I was thinking about this. So
form matters.
I was thinking about this. And I think about to that night in Las Vegas when they lost the Super Bowl. And when that kid was like, you really think this is the worst Super Bowl loss? Really, I thought he was like going off about Miami and Super Bowl 54. And I was like, no, I was depressed. And I remember the phone call I had to Anna, my fiance, that night in the hotel room eating Chinese food with my fingers because they forgot utensils in my Chinese food. And I just thought, they're just never going to get it done. And it's just sad because the Super Bowl 54, when they lost to the Kansas City Chiefs, I go back to the clip of George Kittle saying, I will be back, I will be back. And I felt like they would be back. It felt like it was the beginning of a great run. Deebo was a rookie. Bosa was a rookie. George Kittle was very young in his tenure with the 49ers. Fred Warner hadn't even entered his prime yet. Shanahan didn't have bags under his eyes. Things were rolling. But when I think about that loss in Las Vegas and the way it went down and the way the season just aligned perfectly for the 49ers, and they were number one in all these offensive categories, and you get all the breaks at home, you get a home field advantage, you come back from 24-7, and you lose that Super Bowl. And that feeling of walking out of there, it just felt like it was the end of this run with this core. Whereas Super Bowl 54, it felt like it was the beginning of things to come. And instead of winning Super Bowl 54 and getting off, because winning that one means so much. Winning the one for Joe Montana against the Bengals back at the Pontiac Silverdome, it sparked a dynasty. What if they lose that game? What if they're Jim Kelly and the Buffalo Bills lose it to the New York Giants in Tampa, Florida in Super Bowl 25, and then they lose 4 straight Super Bowls? Or what if Mahomes and company loses? You know what I'm saying? All these things that happen. It just felt like that Super Bowl in Las Vegas was the end of this run for this current core, and we're just in denial the first 3 months of the season.
There's not a question in my mind that that's the reality of where we're at, B. Like, Bonta, I was involved in this. We were crushing Steve Wilkes. You know what this defense did yesterday? Literally couldn't stop the up-the-middle power run over and over and over again. And I watched, for the first time, I want to say a swear word. I've watched crap Niner football over the years of my life, and I know you have too. Never in my 42 years of existence have I ever seen the 49ers get a 12-man on the field penalty in consecutive plays. That's Tom Sula, Chip Kelly, Dennis Erickson level, undisciplined BS, and it's unacceptable. I straight up, and I love Kyle. I've rooted Kyle on. I think Kyle's done a lot of great things. I'm not asking for his head this morning. I'm not doing any of that. The details with this organization, we're all worried about clicking on a podcast, cashing in at the bank, but no one's worried about lining up properly. No one's worried about executing before the snap, before the hike. Nobody's worried about finishing the play through. Like, make a freaking play. Could someone make a play? CMC, they get a huge chunk play. Oh, you're only down 2 touchdowns. It felt like that, to your point. They were in that game.
They were in the game.
They throw a little pass to CMC. Boom. It's one of his biggest plays since coming back. and he fumbles the ball. CMC, everybody's favorite player, fumbles the ball. And as I watch Saquon Barkley on Sunday Night Football look like the CMC from last year, I'm asking myself, is CMC ever going to get back to what he was? Like, I have no idea. What's going on with Bosa? Is he going to have a season-ending oblique injury? Is Trent just going to hang it up from here on out for the year? What do you do with Fred Warner? What do you do with Brock Purdy?
Hold on. We'll go back to CMC for a second. When we talk about the end, the CMC, maybe it was a microcosm of things to come. He fumbled in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and George Kittle was goofing around with Karlaftis instead of jumping on the ball.
But you know what, though? George Kittle has no idea. Don't blame him for CMC
I'm just
fumbling.
saying it's a microcosm of everything.
CMC fumbled. You know what I'm saying? Nobody knew he was going to fumble. He fumbled. That's not CMC. And he was a shell of himself, and he fumbled and lost the confidence of Kyle Shanahan in that Super Bowl, where Shanahan went away from him for a long period of time. So this team is not it right now. They're 5-6. They're a game out of first place in the NFC West. I'll continue to say that because those are the facts. But when you don't have Nick Bosa, Fred Warner's a shell of himself, Greenlaw hasn't hit the practice field, Charvarius Ward's going through a personal tragedy.
I mean, that's it's sad.
Deebo Samuel can't get off a press man. Ricky Pearsall's MIA. Can't give him a target. George Kittle's battling his ass off. Trent Williams doesn't suit up. You're playing Jalen Moore. It's just a disaster right now. Oh, by the way, you don't have the quarterback. You don't have the quarterback in Brock Purdy. So I think, in a way, we kind of see how valuable Brock Purdy is to this offense. Not even close. Brendan Allen didn't have a shot. He didn't have a shot.
Well, look,
I mean, come
Brandon
on.
Allen is not great. There's not no one denies that, but like he does have a really good arm, and he does make some throws on the field. And you're sitting here going like, man, it was something up with Brock's arm because the last month or so of the season, it doesn't feel like they've hit spots on the field that they did with Brandon Allen. I'm not saying Brandon Allen is better than no one is saying that. Purdy has such better pocket feel and has instincts and anticipation. There was a 4th down play, 4th and 2 early in the second half, and they went for it. And Purdy hits that pass to CMC. He anticipates the out route and the guy being on the hip of CMC. Brandon Allen's late to see it, late to throw it, throws it high. Boom, incomplete drive killer, right? So there's no doubt. But there is something to be said for a little bit of arm strength. So whatever's been going on with Purdy's arm, which hasn't been the same zip, and he hasn't thrown the ball past 20 yards in what feels like forever, like we got to get Purdy right.
I don't know when he's going to be right. I don't know when he's going to be right. We'll pick it up on the other side. This was bad. 38-10, and Green Bay dominated time of possession. They dominated the run game. The Niners give up a 100-yard rusher for the first time in 55 regular season games. But they have 20 missed tackles, 15 in the first half. And this is, I can't believe how Fred Warner has gone from DPOI to not really having an impact at all.
He hasn't made a play in weeks, B.
Maybe it's on the defensive line. Maybe it's on the secondary. Maybe it's him trying to do too much. But he has not made an it play for whatever reason in weeks.
There's no doubt. You know, like you asked a very specific question. What was it before the break?
What did I ask? I asked a bunch of questions.
Is this it?
Is this it for this core?
So I'll answer that. For some guys on this core, yes, it is it. But I just seen how the NFL works. You can go from worst to first in one year. Like that happens all the time, right? Yeah, they're going to have to. They have a very difficult uphill battle to retool this entire.
I don't think
roster.
It's that daunting, to be honest with you.
No, I think there's some salary cap stuff that they're going to have to maneuver.
But I don't think it's as daunting as you're making it seem. Like,
well, no, they're not.
In this division,
they're not the Commanders.
There's nobody like the Rams are going to be the Rams, but Stafford's getting older. Cooper Kupp's got some injury issues, and they look to trade Cooper Kupp. The L.A. Rams, the Cardinals have Kyler, Trey McBride. They got some players, no doubt. But I don't think retooling this roster, being a competitor in the NFC again, I don't think it's that daunting.
Okay,
I think they have an avenue to be right back on top next season, if not this season.
Fair enough. But like I look at Philadelphia and what they did in one offseason. They went from a team that was really good last year, hit a wall. We had questions across the board on Sirianni, who are the coordinators, you know, the run game, their defensive line, their secondary, their linebacker situation. And really, obviously, they had guys that were carryovers, right, in terms of the players on that defense. But Howie did a great job, the GM, to kind of retool that team, and getting Saquon Barkley was the perfect fit for them. And then everything's kind of flowed off that. Jalen looks better, healthier. They've got weapons. Their defense is making timely stops. And you look up and you're like, Are they the second best team in the NFC? Feels like it. Sure looks like it. I don't think I would have said that heading into the year. Although you and I were kind of like, hey, don't rule out Philly.
They look good. They were going to be a contender again. They were a contender last year.
I think that when I look at the Niners, like, yeah, to your point, it's not like they need 50 new guys.
Right.
That's not what they need. But they do need to retool the trenches dramatically. And then they have to look themselves in the mirror with the running back, and they have to go, like, who are you? Like, are you the guy that's going to be, not explosive, and you're really only a factor in the passing game because you do still have great hands and you can run good routes. And I believe that explosion matters, but not necessarily for getting open. Keenan Allen's made a career, and the guy can't run a 40 of just getting open via savvy route running. But I need to know who he is next year. What's going on with the quarterback? What's going on with these offensive and defensive lines? Can you upgrade the linebacker spot? They do have talent in the secondary. They do, B. They do have some weapons. But, man, the trenches it's done them in this year. The lack of defensive line pressure, the lack of being able to stop the run on that first line of defense, and then offensively, the pre-snap penalties are killing them. There are not a lot of running lanes.
No, not at all. Not at all. Let's open up the lines here. 888-957-9570 is a number. We'll go to our Warriors Focus, Future Focus going into the break. Let's take some calls. Let's go to Leland, who's been our hold the longest here. Leland in the 916. What's up, Leland? Leland, you there? All right, let's go to Joe and Sac. Joe, what's happening?
Morning, guys.
Morning, Joe.
Just got a comment from Keyshawn Nixon, the cornerback from the Packers yesterday after the game. He's quoted, "It's the NFL. It's not an excuse. We didn't have our quarterback. We won 3 games. So we don't want to hear that. We came to play. They should have came to play. We didn't come to play yesterday in any aspect. Every season that we have a down season, we blame injuries. Bosa, Ward, Hargrave, Mitch Wishnowsky, Greenlaw, Ayuk, Kofunga, Elijah Mitchell, Drake Jackson. I understand we're hurt, but every off year we have the same problem. I don't see how you run. Does Nick Sorensen get a pass this year? I mean, can we get Robert Saleh back here? Or is he going to be over there in Green Bay, pitching against us? I mean, I don't know what to do anymore. It's been a rough game. It's been a rough season, but we are 1 game out.
We are one game out. Listen, I'm going to drive people crazy with that because those are the facts. They are 1 game out. But, when you think about the injuries or whatnot, this team wasn't playing well when those guys were playing.
No.
They weren't playing well when Bosa was in the lineup. They weren't playing well when Trent Williams was in the lineup. They weren't playing well with Ayuk in the lineup. So all these guys that are injured, wasn't like they were 8-2. They've been a 500 team all season long.
And I would push back on guys weren't trying. I don't think that's fair. When you have a bunch of guys that aren't good playing, you weren't executing. You're telling me George Kittle wasn't trying hard?
Yeah,
You're telling me Juwan Jennings wasn't trying hard? CMC looks like he's trying. I think CMC dramatically cares about winning and losing, right? I really do. I think it.
Yeah, no, I don't think effort was a problem because in that third quarter, they were in that football game.
That's what I'm saying.
They were in that football game.
Even in the fourth quarter, they had the ball with a chance to make it a 1-score game.
Brendan Allen throws a pass to Deebo Samuel, goes right through his hands. They pick it off.
He's got to make that play.
And the Packers, what they do is they convert the 3 turnovers into points.
Yes.
They force 3 turnovers. They score 21 points off the turnovers.
Jair Brown got hit in the numbers on an interception and dropped it. Yep. Renardo Green dropped an interception. It just...
Somebody's got to make a play.
Exactly.
Somebody's got to make a play. Nobody made a play yesterday. Let's go to...
Leonard Floyd finally made a play.
Yeah, he made a couple plays yesterday.
He made
a couple plays yesterday.
He made 2. Was it Gross Matos as well? They made a couple of plays. But again, your D-line needs to be completely reworked. It's inarguable. They need to have better impact in the trenches. They're losing games in the trenches.
It's funny. I saw a reporter tweet out that Leonard Floyd's on track to get 10 sacks again.
It's the most hollow 10 sacks.
He's tracking to get 10 sacks, and I thought the same thing. I said, boy, very impactful 6.5 sacks he's had so far this season.
That's like the Brandon Belt 20 home runs that all came when we were down 9-1 in the 8th inning.
I'm telling you, always find a beat writer who will wave the palm bonds for the team. Let's go to JD in San Francisco. JD, what's happening?
What's up, JD?
What's up, fellas? Hey, man, I'm with Shasky this morning, man. I think it's just the eye test, right? If you watch this team, the eye test tells you they just don't have it. To your point, you watched Philadelphia last night, you watched Detroit, you watch the teams, regardless of what stat says, you can see who's good and who's not, right? You watch the explosive plays. I'm watching Philly last night. You see A.J. Brown. Dude just looks explosive.
Yep.
Like they just can't
Yep.
stop. And you watch Saquon. Saquon he has that extra gear that he just takes off, but he has explosive plays. We don't have that, right? Like even Philly's defense, you watched the Kobe Dean, those dudes last night, they're physical. I mean, they're talking about on the broadcast, they're hitting you in the mouth like we used to. We used to intimidate teams and physically impose our will. We're not doing that anymore. It's like we've gotten to the point now where teams know they can run it on us now. We don't scare anybody on offense anymore like we used to with running game. They used to be terrified of our running game. We used to just run it down teams. Now we don't have that anymore. So to your point, I think we need to revamp this roster, not to the point that complete overhaul, but there needs to be some explosiveness and some tenacity.
Some tweaks.
retooling.
That's it. Some tweaks. You don't need wholesale changes. You got some things built in. Dominic Pooney, somebody you could build around. I still believe in Banks at left guard. I think he'll bounce back. Though. He's a free agent, but I believe in him. I would like to bring him back on the cheap and keep him in the Niner uniform. I don't think he's that bad. But maybe you move Pooney to right guard or left guard and put Banks at right guard. Who knows? But you have some assets here. You have some assets, but you definitely need some explosiveness. Explosiveness and athleticism. They're desperate for it because Philadelphia does have that. Granted, maybe he's in the open portion of practice without a sleeve on his finger. I don't know. But the guy had a broken finger and is not throwing.
Did you hear what Kyle said after the game? We actually had him on the injury report, right. Whatever. I guess it was either the week before or whatever.
And we just didn't even.
And no one knew. No one knew.
Or he was on the injury report. Nobody cared because Brock was playing. It's like, oh, Brendan Allen's on the injury report. Great. So a lot of people were clamoring for Josh Dobbs. Look, Josh Dobbs is okay.
We're choosing amongst two not great options.
Yeah,
Can we at least acknowledge?
Josh Dobbs played for Minnesota and got his. It was bitched like 3 games into his tenure. For Nick Mullins, for crying out loud. Or the other rookie they had. They had somebody else, too, last year in Minnesota. But, I mean, Brendan Allen had a broken finger. It's not throwing.
Look, this is not going to be a very, we're not taking calls on this, but, like, Brendan Allen made some bad throws, and I also thought he made some good throws. I don't think they won or lost this game because of the quarterback.
Yeah, I mean.
That being said, would I be surprised if Purdy couldn't go next week and they started Josh Dobbs? No, nothing would surprise me at this point.
No, it wouldn't surprise me either. The Brendan, this is why I'm not as emotional today as maybe many others. 888-957-9570. Because once Brock Purdy was ruled out Friday, it's like there's no chance they're winning this football game at Green Bay. And I didn't even think Green Bay was that good. I believe if Brock Purdy played, we get a closer game. And maybe it's coming down to the wire. Because Green Bay, they ran up the score in the game, late in the game, and they dominated in the fourth quarter or whatnot. They could not put the 49ers away for the life of them. The 49ers just, hey, put us away, please. Put us away, please. Put us away. But Green Bay was like, Jordan Love was throwing it up yesterday, making some horrendous decisions. Horrendous. He's single-handedly trying to get the Niners back into it. And that's the guy who's getting 4 years and $220 million. Good luck with that. Jordan Love is a good player, but, man, he makes so many bonehead decisions.
Well, that game could have been over at halftime when it was 17-7. He threw a perfect pass.
Perfect.
To Christian Watson, who just dropped it. I mean, that was I don't know how that guy gets open. I thought Brady was excellent yesterday, but Brady's like, you can't let him get over the top, like literally as they're coming out of the huddle. And then what happens? After 2 sick Josh Jacobs runs, just the Niners weren't good yesterday. And, your point about the backup quarterback is a good one. But to the Green Bay point of view, they did win multiple games with Malik Willis.
No doubt.
At quarterback. Now, it was against Tennessee. So, if people want to take a caveat with that, Tennessee looked pretty good yesterday. I mean, on any given Sunday, anybody can win. We know that Dallas won a division game with the backup quarterback in Cooper Rush. So it can happen. But, B, I think when I look at it and it's like, okay, it's not just Brandon Allen. It's no Trent Williams, no Nick Bosa, no Brandon Ayuk. I don't know what's going on with Deebo emotionally. Clearly a compromised CMC. I mean, he's out there and he's a player, but he's nowhere near what he was last year. And then I look at no Dre Greenlaw, which is one of the things I underrated him all year long. No Charvarius Ward. And they just had no shot. No Hargrave, forgot about him. Like they don't have enough bodies, dude. They're not good enough. They're just not good enough.
They're not good enough.
When you miss 1 million tackles, you commit 1 million pre-snap penalties. You commit penalties on special teams.
Who's that on? Penalties, missed tackles.
It's
Who's
on
that
Jake
on?
Brendel for not, like, dog, you're the center. How are we offsides on as the center?
All sides.
Full starting
false
as the
starts,
center?
holdings, legal man downfield. They weren't just throwing flags. You could see like 4 flags at a time. It's like, damn. Are they popping popcorn? Oh, wait, that's yellow flags. Oh, that's not popcorn. They're just throwing flags. Hold on. 3, 4 flags. Boom, 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 boom. It just mucked the game up. So you're not buttoned up. And you know what? You're going to be penalized a lot. When you have a bunch of new dudes in a lineup who don't know what the hell they're doing, maybe that's a coaching thing. Maybe they're not buttoned up. Nick Sorensen, not buttoned up. Brian Schneider, we know they haven't been buttoned up on special teams.
Saubert.
It's
Saubert
just
tackling the guy as Deebo's flying down the line. It was going to be a 17-14 game if they find a way to punch that in. 87 yards called back.
It was a mess. It was a mess. And maybe the downfall is here. Who better to speak about that than Rob and San Bruno?
Before we go out to Rob, and I'm going to I want to hear from Rob. George Kittle, again, is a guy that needs to stay on this team for the remainder of his career. Like, you're talking about, like, everything's going wrong. George Kittle's out there busting his butt. Juwan Jennings is out there busting his butt. There are guys playing really, 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 really hard. And that's the part of me, like, it's not
that's why I'm saying it's not. That's why it's not, you don't need an overhaul. You have plenty of talent here to tinker and retool for next season, but you don't need an overhaul. You don't need like 15 different players. You need a couple tweaks here and there. You add something, and you'll be fine. But 415 says it's on the coaching. It's on the coaching. That's what he thinks. It's on the coaching. Well, I want to know what the roasters think. Is it on the coaching? Is it on the players? Is it on the coaching? Is it on the players? 888-957-9570 is the number. Let's go to Rob and San Bruno.
Yes, the downfall is here, as I predicted. You know what I'm saying? People called me crazy, laughed at me, but I told y'all what was going to happen. Look, man, not being disciplined, the special teams been ass all year long. You're getting all these penalties. That comes on to the coaching. Cal, if your head went in the playbook all the time, you had offensive coordinator, you could have went out there and counted the guys. The guy you fired, Wilkes, tell Sorensen, that's his defense. Tell him to count the guys on the field. That's basic football. What about the people at the top? You know what I'm saying? Count who's on the line. So that's two times in a row they did that. So, you know what? That's coaching. And then he plays favoritism. His favoritism is going to be his downfall. CMC is not a better runner this year than what Mason is doing this year. He's by far a better running back. He got more juice. It just is what it is. CMC, you missed 2 games. You had 2 messed up ankles. And you think you're going to come back and be the same guy? No, you're not that guy this year. Maybe you rest up and come back next year and you be that guy from last year. But you got 2 Achilles injuries. You had injuries on your knees and ankles before these 2 injuries. Come on. Why are we playing this guy? Mason was the lead rusher in the league. He was at least top 3 for half the season, and then you don't even play him no more. Like, what is going on? And Dobbs, look, man, in preseason Dobbs is better. Allen, we haven't seen Allen win a game in I don't know how long. He hasn't played in 3 years. He hasn't broke in, and you still don't want to play Dobbs. I watched Dobbs play good against us last year. I watched Dobbs win a couple games last year. Is he great? No, but he's better than Brett and Allen. This thing that Cal got with mediocre mid quarterbacks is crazy with me. It's crazy. Like, this dude haven't done that in 3 or 4 years. He hasn't started a game. He has a broken hand. Dobbs started more. We got more film on Dobbs than Brandon Allen. So why is Brandon Allen playing?
I don't know. Well, why? Daniel Jones may be on. Apparently the Niners are in on Daniel Jones, Rob.
Hey, Bonta, what I say, Bonta? I told you. He's the perfect fit for Kyle Shanahan. Mid, he got a big arm. He can run a little bit. He like the full white Trey Lance. You know what I'm saying? You can play him cheap. If they sign, look, watch. He just like his daddy when they went out Jake Plummer. That's who I'm with Game. He remind me of Jake Plummer. And I'm gonna tell you this. When Daniel Jones had a good running game, which Saquon brought, he went to the playoffs, right?
There you go.
So if you put Daniels with this, if we get this running game right, if CFC come back healthier next year, I just feel like if they go get Daniels, they're gonna try to backdoor Purdy. That's what the Shanahans do.
Hey, Rob.
Backdoor Purdy.
Rob, there's so much I want to get into. Like, I want to ask you about Trent Williams because, look, when they made the trade for Trent, he has been a really good Niner. I'm not here to deny that. Like, he has been a really good Niner. But the whole holding out thing, it really rubbed me the wrong way this year in particular.
Rob said Bruno, courtesy of the River Islands guest line.
No, like, it really rubbed me the wrong way. Him, and I get it. You're injured. I understand that. But I do get the sense at times he's got front runner mentality. Would you feel me on that?
Of course. He old, man. He old, man. He done made his money, man. He don't really – the drive's not there no more. That's on the 49ers. Instead of you dropping Pearsall, who can't even get open. Y'all blaming Deebo. Pearsall can't even get open. He's just nonchalant. Drop the offensive lineman. And one more thing that I don't like that Cal hasn't done, where's that second tight end next to Cal?
We've been waiting on that for years. For years, Rob.
Where's that at?
For years.
If we're going to run big personnel all the time, like when Jim Harbaugh had Vernon Davis and Delaney Walker, we could be more of a threat.
I understand why they have the fullback. I get it. But to me, Kyle Juszczyk not being utilized as your second tight end and strictly at the fullback position, it's bad value. It's bad value financially, and it's bad value in terms of one guy being able to play multiple roles. The one evolution I would love for this team to see is get a legitimate H-back who can play tight end and fullback if you're so obsessed with the fullback position being utilized as your offense. Like, having that second guy who can be a pass catcher and a mauler in the run game is important for this offense. Find that guy.
Yeah, they haven't found that guy since Shanahan has been here. He's been here for 8 years. They haven't found that guy. Whether it was Ross Dwelly or who was it? Braden Willis or Cam Latu? Charlie Warner. They haven't found that guy. But also, you know what hurts? I think what hurts me the most, and I'll speak for myself here. When you watch last night and they're getting steamrolled by Green Bay 38-10, and Green Bay obviously took it personal for what happened in the divisional round game. After losing that Super Bowl, we're so far away from it. And that's the harsh reality of walking out of Las Vegas knowing that it's going to be so hard to get back to that point once again. Everything lined up for them last season. Everything. You came back from 24-7 against Detroit because Detroit just simply hadn't been there yet with that group. Jared Goff had, but Dan Campbell hadn't been there. Ben Johnson hadn't been there. And you saw some of that in the fourth quarter of that football game. Jordan Love, obviously, hadn't been in the playoff position in the divisional round game. Now, it's one thing to beat up on Dallas. That's not a road game. They're so far away, Shasky, from getting back to the mountaintop to getting to that Super Bowl. And you just wonder if they ever got right after leaving Las Vegas in the way they did. Not knowing the overtime rules. You can't unsee it. The lack of scoring after Patrick Mahomes' interception. Christian McCaffrey fumbling, Deebo Samuel suffering a hamstring injury, Drake Greenlaw running off the sideline, tearing his Achilles tendon. Their harsh reality is they're so far away again, and you just wonder how patient people are going to be with the head coach, with the quarterback, with the linebacker, with this core. Because you know what Teddy Bruschi's saying this morning on Get Up? Here's what he's saying.
You describe San Francisco as sort of the Cincinnati of the NFC, so close so many times, coming up short. At some point, it just takes a lot out of you.
It's a lot of long foul balls in the playoffs, losing at various different rounds, and all of a sudden you're playing extra games, and all of a sudden now you're getting everybody hurt, and you really don't have any validation in terms of what all the work was for. Okay, they look tired. They look tired. They look like they've been playing a lot of football games, losing the quarterback, losing the D-line, everybody, you're not tackling well. That's just like, it's such a long season. It looked like they were tired.
Mentally tired, physically tired, beat up.
Losing the way that they have, it takes a huge chunk out of you emotionally and spiritually. It's undeniable. We already saw this with the Harbaugh era.
Yeah.
Like that. There are similarities to the Harbaugh era where it feels like their last great push was last year, and the way that they lost in the fashion that they did, and then their age and everything, it all caught up to them. It was like the perfect recipe for a giant letdown this year. That being said, like, I agree with you. They feel so far away from being like contender. Give me a break. Like, give me a break, okay? That being said, It is the NFL, and things do flip
It's
quickly.
a year-to-year league,
Like
no
the Commanders look like a lifeless organization a year ago. They get the quarterback right. It feels like they got the coach right, and they've lost 3 in a row. But you can see there's hope. Like they moving forward.
No doubt.
I'll give this team the benefit of the doubt in terms of they have proven to me that they can make moves and they can figure it out, and they have drafted well. Like this year's rookie class, Dominic Pooney's worst game was yesterday.
Yeah.
He's been outstanding all year. Renardo Green should have made a couple of plays yesterday. For the most part, I think he's been pretty good at quarterback.
He's been solid.
You know,
Malik
Mustafa
Mustafa
had 3 big whoa hits. He dropped an interception, but he had some whoa hits. Tig Brown has played well at times. I don't think yesterday was his best game.
No.
There is talent. Like I'm talking about the young guys.
No, yeah, they could bounce back.
There is talent, but today they do. I can't like be saying the word contender. I feel like a moron.
Well, with this core, with the Deebos, with the Bosas, we'll see what happens with Bosa.
Where's Ayuk
When is he
at?
going to come back? Where's Brendan Ayuk at? When they lost Super Bowl 54 to Kansas City, that first one in Miami, and you got George Kittle saying, I will be back, as the segment is sponsored by Golden State, serving the Bay Area for 3 generations. When you succeed, we succeed. Visit GoldenStateLumber.com. It felt like it was the beginning of a run, and it has been. The next 5 years, from 2019 to 2024, has been magical. You're just missing that one piece, the Lombardi Trophy. They've had some great, iconic wins, moments, memories, great times. But it felt like with this core, it feels like with this core, because there will be changes. Like, I can't see Deebo on this team next year. I just can't. I think Deebo's playing his final 6 games as a member of the San Francisco 49ers. And think about how it's ending. Think about how it's ending. He's going to be more known for this season for checking Tabor Pepper, the long snapper of the team, than he is making a play. And I'm not blaming Deebo, but he's been kind of, when you say front runner, and we think about everything that's happened in the last 5 years, and all the trash talk after losing to Philadelphia in the NFC Championship game. Now, Deebo stood on business, and he backed it up, and he had an all-time game in Philadelphia, scored 3 touchdowns. But then even this year, the podcast saying, we've been the best team over the last 4 years. We've been the best team. It just seems like it's a silly thing to say.
I would agree.
When you don't hoist that Lombardi. It's like, yeah, you may have had the best opportunities to win, but you haven't been the best team.
What do you think about the whole Vernon Davis thing at the end? Because when Vernon Davis was at the end of his Niner tenure, it felt like he kind of tapped out. Like, that's the way I viewed it. Like, I felt like he kind of tapped out emotionally, physically, and it was like he wanted out. He wanted them to pull the ripcord. And a lot of time has passed between, 2015, I think he was traded from the Niners. I still love Vernon Davis.
Yeah.
It didn't end well, but I still love Vernon Davis. I feel like Deebo, I'm a love down the line. And I know there's a lot of people angry at him today. I'm not going to remember 10 years from now whether he was on a podium or not. I will remember some of the ridiculousness, of the tweeting and back and forth and the dumb podcasts. We'll laugh about those things. But I don't think I'm going to remember him as a gladiator and as a Niner.
Yeah, no doubt.
But I get your point of view. In real time, it is tough to digest.
Right now, it's tough to digest. And you don't think it's a big deal going to the podium. And look, I understand why a lot of people don't think, he's mad after a loss. But when you talk the way you do, and you just had to tweet at T.O. last week, who, whether you like T.O. or not, he's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He's in Canton, Ohio with the Gold Blazer. All right? Terrell Owens, one of the 3 best wide receivers I've ever seen in my life. It's Rice, it's T.O., it's Randy Moss. It starts there for me in my top 3. And I know people love Megatron and Larry Fitzgerald, but those are my 3. When you clap back at T.O. and then you put on that performance on Sunday and a ball goes right through your hands, not once but twice, and you don't have an impact, and you have 1 touch for 21 yards, back it up a Seattle game where you have 4 catches for 22 or whatnot, and you can't gain separation. And a guy at the Bay Area Sports Hall of Fame is yucking it up with Guru and I earlier this offseason saying, who's the guy I would roll with? It's not Deebo Samuel. And I'm like, wow, this is an all-time Niner saying that. An all-time Niner telling Guru and I that he would not roll with Deebo Samuel moving forward. It doesn't look good. And from a leader who's wearing the C, what leadership qualities has he shown over the last 3 weeks?
Okay, the last 3 weeks is hard to defend, but I have a tough time ripping Deebo when the guy's literally carried this team at times for long stretches. I'm talking months at times. And I know, the Super Bowl was bad. The last couple of weeks are bad. The leadership qualities aren't great. I don't consider him one of the spiritual leaders of this team in terms of heartbeat. That's like a Kittle.
Well, he comes out with the boombox. He comes out the blue
No,
box
but
with
that's
Trent.
more of an intimidation
Yeah,
thing.
no doubt. But he comes out with the blue box with Trent. And I'm not blaming Deebo because it's not his fault. Yesterday, the whole team sucked. Coaching, the
quarterback's
equipment
got the whole
staff,
team.
the bus driver on the way to the stadium, the Pastor Earl. They all sucked yesterday. They all sucked. It's not just Deebo. But Deebo kind of epitomizes what's gone wrong with this football team. The front-running kind of nature of what's been going on with this football team, he's kind of at the front of it.
Yeah, but he's suiting up, right? And he also reworked his money.
Not doing nothing.
I know, but
he's been hurt.
Okay, but he also reworked his money to be able to play this year because he wanted to be on this team. So, to me, of the guys that are, complaining about money and this, that, and the other, he's out there. You know what I mean? He had a 90-yard return that was called back because of a hold, which is out of his control. He can't control the quarterback fumbling in the pocket. He can't control the offensive line. No, that was a bad play.
He can control his route running.
I don't know.
He can control his route running, right? He can't get open. We literally have wide receivers who can't get off a press man.
But he hasn't been able to get open for 5 years. That's
not true. That's not true.
I mean,
that's not true. He got open against Detroit. He's got the open against Detroit in the NFC Championship game. I just look for one of my leaders. One of my leaders was not there to be counted on yesterday, and that's disappointing. And I'm a Deebo guy. I love Deebo Samuel. Love him.
I don't know. When I walked away from that game, and I get the point.
I'm not walking away from that game just blaming Deebo. I want to let me make myself clear. It's not just Deebo. There's a plethora of things that went wrong yesterday. But when I look at my captain, one of my playmakers, he did not show up yesterday. And he did not show up the last 2 weeks. Juwan Jennings has been a better wide receiver and a better playmaker.
Jennings hasn't talked to reporters for weeks. He has, and then Juwan is
doesn't need to. Well, he produces on the field.
No, I know, but
he shows up.
He's also he literally has not spoken to reporters after games in weeks.
That's fine. He shows up on Sundays.
No doubt.
He makes plays.
He's getting targeted.
He makes plays. He's also not the captain of the team. He's also not making top dollar.
That's a good point.
He's not also one of my premium money makers and premium playmakers.
Look, I'm just saying, of all the guys to be mad at this morning, I'm not that mad at Deebo.
I'm not mad at Deebo at all. I'm just calling it like it is. I'm not mad at all. I didn't lose an ounce of sleep over the loss yesterday. Believe that. But I'm looking at Deebo Samuel as one of the captains, as one of the guys who's on the side of Levi's Stadium with the big posters and everything. Come on, man. 1 catch, 21 yards. I don't need Juwan to talk to the rest of the season. He's done what he's had to do.
Well, I love Juwan. I'm just using that as an example that not everyone talks to the media every time.
It's not about that. It's about the playmakers, the captain. He's got the C on his chest, Shasky. He's got the C on his chest as one of the playmakers, as one of the leaders, as one of the captains who changed his jersey number, who comes out the blue box, who has the podcast, who goes out with Kay Adams, who tweets all the time. And he has not showed up the last 2 weeks after doing what he did to Tabor Pepper. Those are the facts.
I'm not arguing those facts.
I'm just saying.
But he's also not getting targeted and he's not getting touches. And when he was, not much was happening. But, one of the
He's not getting targeted because he can't get open.
Well,
he literally can't get open. He can't beat press man. One of my premium playmakers can't beat press man. And I got a problem with that. I'm not blaming Deebo. I don't want to be clear. I'm not blaming him. But I look at the top. When I look at my team and I start pointing fingers left and right, look at head coach, we look at quarterback, and I look at my premium guys. And my premium guy who was on the field yesterday and on the field last Sunday at Levi Stadium did not show up. He did not show up. It is what it is.
They have so many issues. Just yesterday alone, right? Offensive side of the ball. Backup quarterback, backup left tackle, essentially either backup wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2, however you view Brandon Ayuk. Starting running back looks compromised at best. Horrific pre-snap discipline. Horrific post-snap execution. Defensive side of the ball. No Bosa, 0 D-line pressure, can't tackle behind the line of scrimmage or after it. Linebackers who can't cover in space. DBs dropping balls down the field. Special teams. Okay? The kicker made a kick. Great.
That is great. That is a nice little bounce back for Moody.
Yeah.
He made a field goal in the elements.
Okay. 3 consecutive holds on punt returns or kick returns. 1 negating 87 yards. You had a total of 120 yards called back. Also, on top of all of that, your backup quarterback fumbled the ball in the pocket multiple times. I mean, it's just yesterday was a litany of issues, and I understand there's a leadership thing. All your top paid guys, it feels like, are either hurt or underperforming, and you want someone to step up and take control of the situation because it feels like things are spiraling out of control, and I understand that. Just I'm looking at the list of issues right now, and like for me, and others could disagree, like Deebo at a podium, it's a horrible look. He should have been there.
I'm not trying to make a big deal about this Deebo thing.
On the list of things, it's like 25th.
It's not high on my list, but it's a microcosm of what's been going on with Deebo in this season.
That I agree with.
And when things get hairy, and you get, we need somebody to look to. Like Fred Warner's speaking after every game.
Well, the bigger issue with Fred Warner is I love the guy. We all love the guy. He's one of the most respected players ever wear a Niner uniform. Hasn't made a play in a month.
Hasn't made a play. But you know what? He hasn't made a play, and he still faces the music. No doubt. My bigger point.
But that's who
he goes up there and he
been.
Goes in. But so he's a leader. Christian McCaffrey's been back for 3 games. Has no burst. Can't get to the second level in the run game whatsoever. And we need more Mason. We need more Correndo. He just doesn't look like CMC. He even fumbled yesterday. But you know what? We need to go face the music.
But Bonta, this is kind of who Deebo's been.
Yeah, but Deebo's been talking. He's been talking. He talked after Tabor Pepper in that situation. But after 2 games and after tweeting at T.O., I don't hear from him. I need to hear from him. I need to know what's going on at the wide receiver position. Why aren't they getting targets? Why aren't they getting open?
Again,
is this something secondary guys are doing?
Yeah,
is this something that the defense is doing?
It's backup
That's all it
quarterback,
is.
backup left tackle, 0 run game control, pre-snap discipline. You're behind the sticks left and right. They can pin their ears back. Like, I don't know, man. I'm
not saying that it's a big deal, Shasky. I think you're like,
no, but what I'm saying
is
you're talking about getting open.
Deal.
Like, guys aren't getting open because of all of these reasons.
They haven't been getting open when the guys have been in the lineup.
Agreed.
What if they've got the worst separation in the league in terms of wide receivers getting off the line of scrimmage?
That's not his game.
And that's with Trent Williams in the lineup. That's with Brock Purdy in the lineup. That's with Chris McCaffrey in the lineup. That's with Brandon Ayuk in the lineup. They haven't been good all year. So I don't want to hear about injuries and having this backup and this backup as a reason why they can't get open. They haven't been getting open all damn season. They haven't been getting open since the Super Bowl, for crying out loud.
I understand that. It's just that there's a lot of problems on this team right now. Like, no one is arguing. Like, there's a lot of problems on this team right now. And, like, you drafted a guy in the first round, and you brought back Ayuk, and you only target Ayuk like 4 to 8 times a game. You bring in Pearsall. I don't know where he was going to be value year 1 if you don't throw the ball that much, and he's buried on the depth chart behind Juwan Jennings, who would have been your 3, so Pearsall would have been your 4. Now, with all the injuries, you elevate him. He still can't get looks.
He didn't get 1 target yesterday.
So, like, in terms of value for a first-round pick in year 1, not great value.
No.
If you're trying to, like, win now. Like, part of why you brought him in or whatever, like, win now. We got to beat man coverage. It's like, you're not even targeting him, you know? And the 2 guys who are making plays, George Kittle and Juwan Jennings, guys are draped all over them, and they're still making sick contested plays.
Let's go to VO in Texas. VO, what's happening?
Hey, what's going on, guys? I just want to thank y'all for being a blessing to the 49er Nation. We need y'all on a morning like this, man. Y'all are a blessing, so I appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
I just want to drop these facts real quick, man. I'm gonna try to be as quick as I can, but I just got to say this. There's been 4 coaches in NFL history that have lost multiple Super Bowls and have not won. Right? I'm looking at Bud Grant, looking at Marv Levy, and the last name I want to mention, the most recent, was Dan Reeves. Dan Reeves was with the Denver Broncos for 11 seasons, I believe 11 or 12 seasons. He lost 3 Super Bowls, if I'm not mistaken. And
Dan Reeves, yeah.
Yeah, Dan Reeves. Okay. If we let's look at it. The very next year, their owner was it Pat Bowlen? Yep. I believe their owner was Pat Bowlen at the time. Who did he hire?
Mike Shanahan.
What did Mike Shanahan do?
I think they lost in
they lost to Jacksonville in the divisional round.
But then
won back-to-back seasons.
But they eventually crossed the hump, right? Right? With essentially the same roster, right? So I'm not going to say, I'm not going to be leading this fire Shanahan thing, even though I'm not a fan of his at all. But I will say this: if we don't make the Super Bowl, I would hope Jed would look at that history, being that the coach you have, whose dad replaced the guy who lost multiple Super Bowls, who was there for 10 plus years. I think there's got to be a change if we don't make the playoffs this year. That's just my opinion. I don't know what y'all think of that. Hey,
So hold on. So if they don't make the playoffs, VO, you think there needs to be a head coaching change?
I think Shanahan has been there for how many years?
This is year 8. Year 8.
Year 8? I mean, we've had multiple rosters, multiple talented rosters, but we've had the same result, right? And I think the only constant is what? We went to the Super Bowl without CMC. You know what I mean? So we've had multiple talented rosters each year that we could have won the Super Bowl. We haven't won it because of one thing. And I think the only thing that's been the same is Kyle Shanahan. And I think, just look at it like this, guys. We had 12 players on the field for 2 plays in a row. I never seen any coach, whenever we watch a game on TV, I never seen a coach be in their play sheet more and not watch the field than Kyle Shanahan.
He was yelling on the second one. He was like screaming on the sidelines before it even happened. He was kind of all over it, and that's one of the memes that I saw yesterday. Here's what I would say to people out there. If your prerogative is they got to get rid of Shanahan, hey, you're a fan. You're entitled to your opinion, all right? I'm not going to deny you that opinion. Here's what I would say to you. My point of view is this. I would like to hear who you're replacing him with, number one. And number two, no, if you're going to say that, I want to know what your solution is. And then number two, don't you think Kyle's earned the benefit of the doubt to kind of, see what he's got for next year? He's been really good the last couple of years. Almost won the big one, all right? He's had one down year. Hasn't he earned enough, leeway to be able to dig himself back out of the hole and just see what he's got next year at the minimum? So if you're going to call in and say you want the coach to change, that's fine. Like, you're entitled to that. You are, right? I'm not going to get mad at someone who pours their soul into the Niners because they think that Kyle sucks or whatever, but just tell me who you want. Like, don't just come on here firing the guy. And I'm not saying that's what he was doing. He had a really good call. But tell me what your solution is. And then my counter to you would be, don't you think he's earned enough to be able to run it back and see what he's got with a retooling?
Well, 408 doesn't. Caller's right. We've been saying this for weeks. Fire Kyle and hire Coach Prime.
Coach Prime. Yeah, I'm out on Coach Prime.
Comcast Business Text Line. Hire Belichick. Fire Shanny. Warriors did it with DeMar Jackson. Mike Vrabel, go get him. It's from the 530. Are we really there? Are we really there to talk about a coaching change? Really, is that what that's where we're at, Niner fans? You think it's all on the coach? It's all on the coach, huh?
So there was a play yesterday. There was a sequence.
Like, come on, man. We can't fire. Hold on, real quick. We can't keep firing the coach every single week. I mean, you just laid it out. Brendan Allen was your quarterback. Now, the coach made that decision to play Brendan Allen, but that was your quarterback.
Okay, so it's Josh
Jalen Moore. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Josh Dobbs.
Okay, so it's Josh
Did you not
Dobbs,
watch Josh Dobbs last season?
Yeah, I mean,
he got his job taken by Nick Mullins.
I don't think
who's on 3 different teams. So I'm not with the whole fire the coach after every single week. How about players make some damn plays?
First drive.
How about some players make some damn plays around here? We don't hold players accountable whatsoever anymore.
Well, I mean, we've been holding Deebo and CMC and Trent. And, no, I'm
look
saying
at this defense. They missed 20 tackles yesterday.
No doubt.
20 tackles.
I mean, Bonta. So first drive, okay? Brandon Allen, nice little pass, little flip pass to George Kittle. Oh, then there's a penalty, a false start, pre-snap penalty on your rookie who's been excellent, but let's just call it his. It was worst day of the game. And then on 3rd and 5, manageable, okay? 3rd and 5, Brandon Allen loses the ball in the pocket and is sacked. Is that on Shanahan?
No, it's not.
Okay, so now you're down big, whatever. You only ran a couple of plays. You're down 17-0 before you've really had any offense going. It's not even on Shanahan. 17-0. And he had 2 of the best plays of the day. 3rd and 7. All right, they have CMC and George Kittle off to the side, and they do the rub route that I've been begging for. And CMC gets the little out, and boom, Allen hits him with anticipation, first down. Then you get that unbelievable, like, flea flicker screenplay that they threw to Deebo, and boom, they get a pop. They end up scoring on that drive. To me, that was a signature Kyle Shanahan drive with a bunch of backups. After everything had gone wrong for this team. It was a 1-score game, essentially. Like, they had that thing in the bag, and Saubert freaking gets called back for the hold on the big Deebo play. There were plays out there to be had. The team, the guys didn't execute.
No, they didn't.
At all.
Did not. Did not whatsoever.
I'll defend Shanahan in this one. I know he wants to lose their mind. Look, I'm not going to defend the Sorensen hire because I think it's a bad hire.
And they'll move on from Sorensen.
Yeah,
and I think they'll move on from Sorensen. But boy, how?
But come on.
6 months later, how do we feel about Steve Wilkes now? Boy, we'd be begging for Steve Wilkes to run this damn defense. Begging. This defense looks soft.
Well,
soft. And if we're mad about Steve Wilkes not being in the, he needs to be on the sideline to fire this team up. We need somebody to pump the guys up. You ever see Nick Sorensen sitting on the sideline? Who the hell is he pumping up?
He's got the sunglasses on. I'm like, dog, it is.
Sunglasses on with his hands in his hoodie pocket. Call it a defense.
Dare I say, do we bring Brandon Staley? The coaching change I would make is I'd say, Sorensen, you're a great guy. I know everybody loves you, but I think we need to go to Brandon Staley.
Maybe.
I mean, this is why you don't listen to players, though. Like, the players wanted, for example, Antonio Pierce, and now all the guys that wanted Antonio Pierce have nothing to do with the Raiders. The players really like Sorensen. You don't let the players choose because the players are going to come and go. You make the best decision, and you figure it out, especially considering it's the NFL and you flip the roster over no matter what team you are.
No doubt.
Players want to get rid of Nick Sirianni. Jalen Hurts didn't like him. The quarterback didn't like him.
Well, now look at Nick Sirianni. And Nick Sirianni's won at least 8 games every single year. He's going to go to the playoffs every single year.
Kellen Moore was a great hire.
He understood it. Great hire. Now, I didn't like his clock management at the end of the first half yesterday.
He's been good
in L.A., but
Fangio's been
solid.
great for that defense.
Fangio has been really good for that defense.
And they drafted well.
They did. Cooper DeJean could play, man. What that one rep against Cooper Kupp on the third down in the slot. Oh my God! I kept rewinding and saying, "Damn, they got to play." Then they got Quinyon Mitchell, the corner. Nobody throws at him. They had a hell of a draft. So did the Reds.
You could just feel right away, like, oh, we really don't have an answer for Josh Jacobs.
He missing tackles left and right. It was unbelievable.
D. Winters made a play in space midway through the game, and I'm thinking to myself, look, man, I'm not saying that he's a flawless player. You're telling me he can't get on the field ahead of Devondre Campbell? Like, those little tiny personnel decisions drive me crazy.
I went on with my boy Doug Russell on the Packers pregame show. Doug Russell, him and Bill Smith, they work with each other. Doug and Bill, they're great up there. And Doug asked me about Devondre Campbell. And my reply was, I see why you guys gave him up. And he just chuckled. I said, I see why you guys gave him up. Can't cover in space, can't tackle, can't fill gaps, can't fill holes, can't do anything right.
And talks.
Like
he's a A1 player.
Well, he's not. He's not. And you see why Green Bay gave up on him.
The Greenlaw absence has been, man, it's been something. Like, it is a hole that I think most Niner fans, we were like, yeah, Greenlaw's good. But, like, now we're like, no, Greenlaw was great.
I mean, we saw the Super Bowl. The minute he left, the Super Bowl changed.
100%.
Oren Burks was out there and wearing number 48, struggling to line up in the right spot. And then you had Logan Ryan playing the slot corner. Just didn't make any sense. Let's go to the lines, man. Let's go to Ronnie and Tracy.
Hey, Ronnie.
Ronnie, what's happening? You're on the roast. What a depressing Monday, man. That was humbling yesterday. Right, Ronnie?
Yeah, that was bad. I sound like Shasky on the cutback talking about Campbell. Get his ass off the field. Get Sorensen out of there. I mean, they got 10 men on defense right now because of him. He's terrible. Get Winters out there. I don't care if he makes mistakes. He's so much more athletic, and it gives us a threat at making a play. Second thing, yesterday's play from the quarterback, I know Brandon Allen didn't play that bad, but it makes me think we should extend Purdy right now at hopefully the cheapest cost we can get him, because we just need to get this locked down, get it over with, so we don't deal with this in the offseason. That's all I got.
It's going to be interesting with Purdy. I expect the unexpected with Kyle Shanahan.
What does that even mean?
Does Shanahan even know what he wants at quarterback? If they do move, like, I don't think they're moving off of Shanahan. But if that happens, let's just say hypothetically that happens as we play hypotheticals. The one thing that's going to loom over this tenure with Kyle Shanahan is the fact that he never really got the quarterback right. Now, he fell into Brock Purdy, and we got very fortunate with Brock Purdy. But along the way to Brock Purdy, there has been a mishandling of the most important position in all of North American sport, the quarterback position. That is undeniable. Undeniable. If he does get axed, which, again, I think it's a very, very low probability of that happening, nor do I think it should happen. I think Shanahan should be allowed to coach in 2025. But the quarterback spot and how they handle this moving forward, that's the one that's been looming large. Everything has been home run hits, build a great roster, all that stuff. But there's still questions about quarterback. And right now the question is, can Brock Purdy stay healthy? Is his shoulder injury serious, Shasky? A little serious enough for him not to play yesterday, and we have no idea about his availability for next Sunday against Buffalo.
One thing cannot be argued. The game is violent. I'm talking about football. Ben Roethlisberger was a big, strong, strapping man, and then after about 10 years of wear and tear, his body just gave out on him. Peyton Manning. When people walk into a room with Peyton Manning, they're like, wow, I can't believe how big he is. I got a chance to be on the court, if you will, as he was walking by with Carson Palmer. Carson Palmer is one of the largest men I've ever seen in my life. And I was like, if you told me he was 6'7", I would have believed you, even though I know that's not what his listed height is. I got a chance to meet Brock Purdy up close and personal at the driving range one day, and not a very big guy. And I think that, you know, if you're going to be a smaller guy, you got to avoid the injuries and you got to avoid just the hits, right? Jimmy's body gave out on him at the end. It just did. Jimmy was physically a shell of himself. Jeff Garcia, his body gave out on him at the end, especially out of the end of his Niner tenure. His whole body was injured.
Well, heck, he bounced back, though, with Philadelphia.
No doubt,
had a good
but
year.
It took a couple years.
No doubt.
The injury thing with Brock is real. Like, and I know he's played 30, 40 games, but like staying upright and not getting hurt is a big part of the game. And some you can avoid, some you can't. Some stuff is just normal wear and tear.
Right.
If the shoulder is hurt and he needs some sort of off-season surgery, now you've had off-season surgery on the throwing elbow and the throwing shoulder. That's a real thing. And now I'm looking at this and I'm saying, like, Baker Mayfield, when he had the shoulder injury, that was kind of the beginning of the end of him in Cleveland. Now, there was other stuff, leadership and whatnot.
But it took him a couple years.
He signed a 3-year, $100 million deal. $50 million guaranteed.
Yep.
Geno Smith signed a 3-year, $75 million deal with $40 million guaranteed.
Those were good contracts, in my opinion.
Good contracts, great contracts.
Baker was making plays yesterday, boy. They got my boy Bucky Irvin finally running the football.
Downfield.
Yeah, no, Baker's been good.
And then Kirk Cousins this offseason, because you keep referencing Jordan Love. Kirk signed a $100 million guarantee deal with 4 for $180. I think that a Purdy deal starts in between the Baker and Kirk number, meaning like somewhere in the $65 to $85 million
what if Kirk
guarantee.
becomes available? What if Kirk becomes available?
As in?
What if he becomes available? What if Atlanta says, we're going to give the keys to Michael Penix Jr.?
So a 37 to 38-year-old Kirk Cousins? Yeah, I'm probably cool off that.
Would
but
Kyle
who knows with Shanahan?
Was Kyle Shanahan cool off of an older Tom Brady? Basically said no, and then he called him back last year.
So let me ask you this. We watched
Aaron Rodgers. Did he not call Green Bay about Aaron Rodgers?
No doubt.
He'll be available again this offseason, too, according to
So I expect the unexpected when it comes to Kyle Shanahan and the quarterback. I think Brock Purdy deserves a job, but I don't know what Kyle Shanahan is thinking.
Do you think Kyle's sitting here? And I'm serious. We heard the TK cut earlier this year where he says, then I see how much a starting quarterback costs, and then I kind of compare.
Yeah, we played it on Friday. Friday.
Because
we'll play it. We'll play it, but we played it on Friday.
The reason why I bring it up, I watched that game yesterday, and I was thinking like I'm Kyle, right? Because this is how Kyle does the math. It's not, is Brandon Allen better than Purdy? Of course Purdy's better than Brandon Allen. It's, is Purdy at $55 million, $45 million better than Brandon Allen?
I think he is.
No, but I'm saying that's how he's doing the evaluations.
Yeah, no, I know how we do the evaluations.
So like right now.
I would say Brock Purdy's $100 million better than Brandon Allen.
I agree. Now the question is, is Sam Darnold going to get re-signed in Minnesota?
Who knows?
Well, Sam's making $10 million this year. Even if he takes a big a jump up, is Brock Purdy $15 to $20 million a year better than Sam Darnold? Like these are I'm not saying I'm doing this. I know the head coach is doing that equation in his head. So that's how you got to view these things.
Let's go to Rocky and Vallejo. Rocky, what's happening?
Yeah, what's up, guys? I wanted to talk about the defense. Obviously, they had a rough day, but then after listening to the other callers, I got to say some of these callers are asinine. When they say fire Kyle Shanahan and they say he's not a leader of men. I mean, it sounds like to me they're Raider fans that think Antonio Pierce. I mean, I have a lot of respect for Antonio.
Hey, Rocky.
He's a leader of men, right?
Right, Rocky, real quick. Wait till you get off the line and see some of the calls that we have coming up here. And you think people are asinine about getting rid of Shanahan? You ain't heard nothing yet, Rocky.
I got you. Yeah, but I do agree with some of the you guys when Shanahan is stubborn. He fired with Silk Wilkes last year. He should definitely fire Sorensen. Man, he's not playing D. Winters. Yadam, soft as hell. Once Ward comes back, I don't want to see Yadam. Put Rock in there. If the other corners are hurt and stuff, we got to put Rock instead of Yadam. Is too soft, man. He can't. He don't want to tackle. You see him, and D. Winters got to play more. But pretty much, I still think the season we can make the playoffs. We can win the division. We're only one game out. I understand the tiebreakers. We only won one division game, but we still got all three. We still got to play Arizona, the Rams, and with Seattle. I mean, we're done with Seattle, but we got to still Arizona and the Rams. So I'll take your comments off the air. But yeah, man, these callers, man, they got me going today.
Just wait until we go to Sacramento right now, Shasky. To TC and Sac. TC in Sacramento. What's happening, brother?
Hey, before we get started, Bonta and Shasky, I love you, man. To the last caller, man, it ain't got nothing to do with being callers. It's being callers like me, bro, that's using their head. Damn the faithful, damn all that, bro. It's about using your head about Kyle Shanahan, bro. It's over with this dude, man. We talking about a dude that passed on Brady, Mahomes, hasn't got the quarterback situation together, not finna get out of his way, not a leader of men. We talking about who we gonna go get. Okay, I'm not gonna use Ben Johnson. Let's go get Robert Saleh. He's a leader of men. He come in right now. The whole team gonna believe in him and turn it around, bro. Let's cut it out.
TC.
Brock Purdy fell in the cup.
I'll let you finish. Come on, Saleh. You're limped in with Saleh. Come on. I'll let him run my defense, but not my team.
No, like Saleh's a leader of men, bro. I'm telling you that. Coming up with excuses. Let's keep it simple. Coming up with excuses for Kyle Shanahan. This is like being in a relationship, right? And your partner keeps cheating on you, and you keep coming up with excuses. Oh, wait a minute. No, they're going to change. Oh, wait a minute. No, that girl wasn't as good as me, so you're going to be good. No, bro, it's over for this guy. It's over, man. And it's fans that's starting to realize that it's over for Kyle. It's not about your fandom. You don't know what you're talking about. It's about you have common sense, period, bro. That's all I got. What's up, Joe? And I love you. Hey, I love you and Bonta. Y'all my boys, bro. But I'm keeping it 100, bro.
So it's time to move on. You think it's time? Yesterday was an indictment on everything with Kyle Shanahan?
Period. Yes, Bonta, yes. Yes.
Let me before TC, I know you've covered the whole team. What's your thoughts about Deebo Samuel?
Deebo, it's time to move on from Deebo, too. Lock in. You talking about lock in, but you dropping passes and all that, bro. You're declining, bro. You lost a team when you made that big ruckus. Talking about you want to be traded, you want to do all this, you want to do all that. Man, stop it, bro. It's over for you, Deebo. Period, point blank, bro. I love this team, bro, but I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to get on these airways just because I'm a Niner fan and sugarcoat anything, dog. Period. Joe, what's up, man?
Why do you keep asking me what's up? I'm just listening.
No, because I'm spitting, bro, because I'm tired of these fans getting on this airway talking about fans like me. It's crazy, dog. No, we're being honest, man. What's up, Joe, bro?
I'll tell you what's up. I hear you hollering, but you ain't really talking about nothing. I'm not going with Robert Saleh, bro.
I love a loser, bro.
Robert Saleh couldn't get the quarterback right with the Jets. Like, that's the last guy. Like, look around the league. If you get the quarterback thing right, and you figure that out, everything else is so much easier. Robert Saleh is the last guy I want coaching my team when it comes to quarterback questions. Like, no, like I have a lot of questions about Shanahan, but I know that he can move the ball, right? And I know that his offenses, though not as good this year as I want them to be, have been pretty damn good over his tenure. I get that. But if you're going to go Kyle Shanahan or Robert Saleh, like, no, I'm not with that. I'm not with that.
I'm not with that
I'm
either.
not. No.
888-957-9570. If you had one word to attach to yesterday's performance, what would it be? Would it be subpar? Would it be embarrassing? What would your word be?
Sadness. sadness that it feels like this year has like a ceiling to it.
Yeah.
And that it feels like some of my favorite players aren't going to get that ring with the Niners that I wanted them to again. We're going to come out of like a little run here, and there's going to be all-time Niners who aren't going to get the championship that I feel like they freaking deserved. And we're going to look at like great examples, like someone like Deebo. And we do this all the time. That guy's a loser. It's like Deebo was such a winner for the Niners for so long. And if this is the end, like how could you not just be thankful? He was awesome for the Niners. He was awesome. We were dying for a wide receiver when he showed up. Dying. And had some monster seasons. And now we're like kicking him on the way out the door. And it's like, man, come on. He was amazing in that Detroit NFC Championship game.
Well, you're surprised
amazing
people,
in that Philly game.
You say that like we didn't just have Klay Thompson here playing for the Warriors for 13 years. And he won 4 damn championships. How many people blasting him on the way out? They're still kicking his ass out on the door. It's pretty embarrassing. So, of course, they're going to do it with Deebo. 888-957-9570. One word to describe yesterday's performance. And I see a text here, Shasky, and I want to address it for a second. Bonta, there's a reason why you're not blasting the Niners. You are, but in a nice way. You should be pissed. It does not get easier with Buffalo. You had a convo with Jed. You had said, I actually didn't have a conversation with Jed. We just shook hands and made small talk. We lost to the Rams in Arizona. That's who we are. Look, you want me to be angry and kick and scream and bitch and moan about yesterday's loss? I saw the loss coming. It was an embarrassing loss. It was bad. It was all-time bad. But what did me blasting the 49ers this morning going to do? I'm looking for solutions. I'm looking to get the season back on track because me personally, my mind is wired, hey, you know what? Weird things can happen. We're in last place in the NFC West, but Seattle's in first place. They're 6-5. Oh, well, what do you know? They got some tough games coming up. Arizona has tough games coming up. So if you do get Brock Purdy back and you do get Nick Bosa back and you do get some of these guys rolling here, maybe there is a way to get into the playoffs and win a division. That's why I'm not really going crazy this morning because I kind of saw the loss coming once you made the announcement.
You blasted me on Friday for being skeptical.
No, you
didn't.
I thought Brock Purdy was going to play. By the time we left the show, Brock Purdy was out.
Well, I kind of had an inkling.
I mean, we all had an inkling.
Well,
we kind of had an inkling.
Oh, did I get fooled?
I'm not going to go into a game scared. I'm not going to go into a game just like, oh man. And Green Bay's not impressive. That's what my big takeaway was like. Green Bay's not world beaters.
They won by 28,
right? Yeah, but come on. Was that a 28-point loss?
It could have been a 40-point loss.
It was 24-10. It went through the
and
quarter.
that wasn't even their best performance. Right. So in a way, it was impressive that they didn't even look that good and still won.
But Green Bay hasn't looked that good all year.
It's a tough division.
What I'm saying. They haven't looked that good all year. They haven't. They haven't looked that good all year. Have they, Green Bay?
It was the worst Packer-Niner loss in the history of our two franchises.
It was awful.
It's kind of crazy.
It was awful.
I couldn't believe that.
Look at that roster. But
to your point about like Bosa coming back, even if Bosa comes back, he's got an oblique injury that's going to require surgery.
He's probably not coming back.
He's their best player on defense.
Let's go to
second best, depending on
Orlando and San Bruno. Orlando.
Hey, Orlando.
Hey, guys. Thank you for taking my call. I watched the game. When the score was 10-0, I told my family it wouldn't surprise me if the final score would be 31-9. The thing that was big issues, of course, was the first quarter. Tons of missed tackling. The 4th and 2 play call, I really felt that they should have used Mason at the I-back, but kept McCaffrey where he was. Because with that formation, to me, everybody knew what he was going to do, and that's what the minus of Shanahan, that he's not that he's getting too predictable in those kind of scenarios. Last thing is, I had hopes when the score was 17-7. The third quarter was looking good, but I told everyone like three days before the game that the only way the Niners had a chance was going to be if Mother Nature played with
factor.
The snow and whatnot. Yeah. And then the last thing was, you're talking bad about the Packers not being consistent. They've been consistent on the running, and then that cornerback, he got that opportunistic interception because of Deebo. I don't know what's going on with Deebo, but he didn't help that quarterback. It is an embarrassment of a loss. You guys just mentioned that is the worst deficit defeat in 74 meetings. With that being said, the last thing I'm going to say, I want someone's head because of that. That is ridiculous. That's all. Thank you for taking my call, and happy holidays.
You too. Happy holidays. You know, Bonta, I believe that the 4th and 2 play was actually a really good play. And the quarterback, Brandon Allen, was late to anticipate. You had the McCaffrey breaking, and Purdy, I know, hits him on that play. And you had the cornerback on the inside of McCaffrey. It was set up, ready to go. He was late because he saw a little bit of the rush and put his eyes down, didn't step into his pass, threw high and late, and that's why it was incomplete.
Yep.
I mean, I actually like that. Now, we could argue about having a different guy in the backfield and still having McCaffrey split out wide, but I still think that was the right play call. That goes back to the execution of players.
On the 4th and 2, I like to get something in the middle of the field and not just hit the sideline and just 1-2 throw the sideline. Your margin for error on that play, especially if you don't have a lot of separation, it's low. It's low to complete. But we're nitpicking here. The 4th and 2 play could have been better. They would have been in the game. They were moving the ball. Felt like they had some help there. Once they didn't get the 4th and 2, I was like, damn.
Well, the Deebo callback on, right before all that, it was just like, it was a gut punch. I mean, that was Deebo's biggest play of the game. By far, it felt like the biggest play for the Niners, and Sauber gets called for the tackling or whatever the hell the call was.
No doubt. All right, 2 minutes, Lubin. BPA, since we have 2 minutes, shouldn't take BP long to get his thoughts out on the morning.
Hey, bud.
Morning. I think there's 2 extremes. There's fire Kyle, he's done, and then there's this is just a blip, and Kyle is still the all-powerful, never accountable, does whatever he wants, and answers to no one, sort of leader of the 49ers. There's somewhere in the middle. Like, I'm pretty concerned. My word is I'm concerned about the state of the organization, and I don't know what's really salvageable going forward. I watched that Eagles game. You have Vic Fangio, defensive coordinator. You have a super high-level offensive coordinator. And the Niners have a defensive coordinator that would not be hired by any of the other 31 teams in that role. They have a special teams. They've gone from like this incredible, talented coaching staff to, in my opinion, maybe the worst coaching staff in the NFL. I'm welcoming Shasky. I'd love your take on that, but he's got some questions to answer. He's not going to be able to blow them off because he's so powerful that he doesn't have to answer them. They need a massive restructuring of the organization, coaching, and that would be my mandate. Honestly, if I'm Jed, what I would say is go get yourself a world-class defensive coordinator and go get yourself a world-class offensive coordinator. And go get yourself a special teams coach who's competent, because if you don't want to pay attention to these other things, it means you're going to need great coaches there.
Brian, BP, I know you talk about the Niners coaching staff, but I know you don't mean it. You're being a bit hyperbolic, but there ain't no way in hell they have a worse coaching staff than New York Giants and the Dallas Cowboys.
Once again, you have okay, great, good, okay, 30th. Great. Thumbs up. That's really confident.
Well, you said it.
Let me defend BPA's point of view. What he's saying is that they have lost a ton of people, and it's hard to replenish. When I look at Belichick at the end, and he spoke about this, he's like, it was really hard because I lost so many guys. He said this on the McAfee show.
There's no doubt.
And he goes, I just kind of ran out of contacts, and then no one would grant me permission to steal any of these other coordinators. So look, just in the last couple of years, some of the names that they've lost: Mike McDaniels, Bobby Slowick, LaFleur's brother, D'Amico Ryans, Robert Saleh, Kubiak. At some point, it is like you hit a wall with guys.
It's going to catch up to you, but I'm not. I'll still take the staff over what I've seen with the New York. Did you watch the New York Giants yesterday?
No, I agree. But
did you watch the Dallas Cowboys?
But that's not the bar.
I know it's not the bar, but we say the worst coaching staff. There's about 10 other staffs that are terrible.
We take serious,
right? I mean, come on, it's the NFL. We can't just say, hey, they're the worst coaching staff. Semantics matter.
If Seattle hired Nick Sorensen, we'd laugh.
Nick Sorensen is not a different. But you know what? Some of y'all deserve Nick Sorensen with the way you spoke about Steve Wilkes last year.
Unemployed.
Yeah, so what? Yeah, he's unemployed because he got fired after the Super Bowl when all the jobs were filled up.
There were still openings.
So how many openings were there? There weren't many openings. There's no openings. But some of y'all deserve Sorensen with the way you talked about Steve Wilkes. You thought it could get worse. You thought it couldn't get worse than Steve Wilkes.
But their personnel was
Nick
significantly
Sorensen said,
better last year.
Hold my beer. no.
I would let Brady run my team if I ran a football team. Why not? It's one of the smartest players of all time. Like, that doesn't mean he's going to be an automatic success.
Yeah.
But I definitely would trust him, and I know that he has work ethic, and I know that he knows what to look for.
So then Michael Jordan, he had work ethic.
No, I'm not. Again, it doesn't mean you're going to be successful.
Right, like Magic Johnson, let's not even. I think we're good with John Lynch.
The Raiders say give Tom Brady plenty of chances to prove whether or not he could actually run a team or not. So let's let Brady do his work with the Raiders before we crown him the next great GM.
San Francisco 49ers, by the way, if the season ended today, they're picking 17 overall.
Yeah, I saw that. 17.
I'd like to get in the top 10 if we're not going to make
Not going to happen. All the people in the top 10 and above that have already fewer wins than you do, 4 and 7, and a lot of them aren't going to win again the rest of the year.
No, they're not. They're not. Let's go to, you know what? Trey in the East Bay. He wants to vent. Then we're going to get to Samita. We're going to get Casey. We're going to get to everybody. Trey in the East Bay. What's happening? Trey, you there? Trey, going once?
The ghost of Trey Lance.
Damn, Trey. I wanted to hear him vent.
The ghost of Trey Lance.
I wanted to hear him vent.
He was gonna spit some stuff too.
Trey in the East Bay.
Trey in the East Bay, call back. We'll get you on.
All right, he was gonna spit that hot fire. All right,
he sounded really hot on the phone.
All right, well, let's go to Samita and Los Gatos. Hello, Samita. What's happening?
Hey guys, looks like today's weather is pretty much my mood when it comes to Bay Area sports this weekend. So I watched that game yesterday, the Niners game, and Bonta, you were asking for one word to describe the performance, and I would say sloppy. It was not impressive in any way, shape, or form. And, I keep coming back to, the community wisdom of 8 or 9 wins for the season, and I think that's exactly where we're going to end up. I don't know where that's going to put us in the playoff picture, but I think 8 or 9 wins is probably what we're looking at right now with the play that I saw yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And also just wanted to shout out an analyst, Manti Te'o, who, boy, if anybody knows about emotional damage, it's him. And he said before the season even started that this team looks like they're emotionally drained. Yeah. And that's kind of what that looked like to me on the field yesterday. Like, they were like, man, Purdy's out, Bosa's out, Ayuk's not around. I mean, they just did not look like they had a winning championship mentality.
Man, you know what? That's a great call, Samita, and I'll add to that. There's that one point in training camp they couldn't even scrimmage the Saints. Remember that? They had to cancel the scrimmage because they did not have enough healthy bodies.
Forgot about that,
actually. Out of all the things, like think about that.
Forgot.
They had nobody to even practice against the Saints. They couldn't even scrimmage against them. Now, Damian Woody on Get Up, longtime offensive lineman. He's on Get Up on ESPN. Damian Woody, here's what he had to say about the Niners.
Are we sticking a fork in the 49ers? That's my question. Are we? I knew I'd find a use for. Oh, we are.
Oh,
the fork is in the 49ers.
It's in the 49ers. Listen, I know the NFC West is still wide open, but when I talk about the 49ers, I don't talk about division. I talk about Super Bowl. And when I look at the 49ers as it relates to a team that could represent the NFC in the Super Bowl, I just don't see it. Like Bruce. When you had that many opportunities, you got to kick in the door. You got to kick down the door and validate all their hard work. They've been there time and time again, and they have nothing to show for it. And when you play that deep into the postseason, you know what it does? Guys get tired. And when guys get tired, they get injured. And that's exactly where the 49ers are right now.
They're injured, talent deficient. Third worst loss of the Shanahan era. Third worst loss. They got beat 39-10 by the Rams in 2018, 40-10 in 2017 by the Dallas Cowboys. Again, a talent-deficient roster right now. They ran for, the Packers, that is, ran for 125 yards in the first half alone. They converted 6 of their first 7 third downs. Any blitz that Nick Sorensen brought up, dialed up, doesn't get home. It got home like once. I mean, the run defense was just all-time bad. They missed 10 tackles in the first quarter. I go on and on and on. As Samita said, sloppy. Yeah, I can see that. Sloppy is a perfect word to describe yesterday's events.
Watching just the Niner game, and then you kind of like bounce around. You're watching the morning games. You're watching the evening game. with the Eagles, and they feel like the second best team in the NFC, and you say to yourself, the Niners so desperately need to revamp their trenches so bad. Their offensive and defensive lines are just nowhere near where they need to be for them to be a winning team. And as much as they've gotten away with patchworking that offensive line, I could make an argument, even including Trent, because of the financial nature of where he's at and what maybe he can net you back in the trade. The only keepable guy on that line right now is Dominic Pooney, considering Aaron Banks is going to be a free agent. I don't know what it's going to cost to keep him. Defensive line, I think I would just start with Nick Bosa, maybe keep Malik Collins as some sort of a rotational D tackle, and I need a complete revamping. I need a revamping of the linebacker position. I need to get Campbell out of here. Obviously, Warner can stay.
What about a revamping of the scheme?
I think there's just adjustment. Oh, you're talking about defense or offense?
Y9, yeah, the Y9.
Well,
the scheme, because it doesn't.
I
their blitzes don't seem exotic at all.
No,
they don't. Their blitzes look very predictable. They rarely get home. How about a scheme change defensively?
So they're running a variation of the Seattle defense, right? Mm-hmm. That defense is prevalent around the league right now, and offenses are gashing it. And what are the defenses that are doing well right now? The 3-4s. Baltimore, not necessarily this year, but Seattle with McDonald is doing much better as of recent. Chargers, Broncos, teams that have the 3-4, it's back in vogue. I love the 3-4. I think we need to get more speed on the field. I want to see them go to a scheme change. You know, Vic Fangio specifically runs the 3-4. Mm-hmm. I know you're going to be in more nickel packages anyway because of the amount of
you're going to be in nickel,
3 receiver sets. But look what he's doing with Philly.
No doubt. No doubt.
But you got to have players too, though. Like I know we can talk, and I'm here for a scheme change. I'm open to it. But you got to have players. They got no players.
Also, the little things too. I read this quote from Chris Conley. He said the league is predicated on defensive lines that jet upfield and get off the ball. We have to be more disciplined when we use our cadence. We've got to keep repping it. There's no way around it. You have to lock in. You can't make those mistakes. We have to be disciplined when we use our cadence. So basically, what Chris Conley is saying is that people know our cadence. So they're getting off the ball effortlessly, and they're getting a great jump off the ball, getting to the quarterback and snuffing the run game. Got to mix up the cadence.
This year, more than any year of the Shanahan era, they have been getting out of the huddle so late and getting to the line so late. How many times do you see whoever's under center hike it, like with 2, 3. What ends up happening is these defensive linemen time that. And they know it's either going to be a, delay a game or I get a perfectly timed release.
I can't wait to find out what Shanahan says today about having consecutive plays. It was the defense lined up with 12 men on the field.
Monte, how long have you been watching football?
I've never seen that before.
In my life.
Back-to-back plays.
Never seen it at the pro level.
Back-to-back plays. Just kind of wild. Back-to-back plays. So... let's go back out to the lines, man. We got full lines here. Let's go to Trey in the East Bay. We'll give him another shot here.
What's up, Trey?
Trey, what's happening?
What's up, fellas? My bad, man. I lost y'all earlier, though.
It's all good.
But, man, listen, man. Lately, it's been a drought. No Super Bowl rings. But I've been a fan since we was 2-14. Shout out to Dave Canal Heat, man.
Oh.
But listen, real talk. We are spoiled as fans, bro. 4 out of the last 5 years, we've been in the NFC Championship game. 2 years ago, 2 Super Bowl appearances, and now all of a sudden we have one bad season and the sky's falling. I mean, what are we doing, man? What are we talking about? This team is having a bad season. That's all this is. It's a bad season. Oh, well. Suck it up, Buttercup. We've been through this before. 2-14 seasons, like I said. This is not a big deal, man. If we have a bad season, oh, well. Guess what? We'll be back again next year. And as far as Shanahan goes, who's better out there right now in the market? Is there a better coach out there? Please tell me, because I don't see him. I don't see nobody better than Shanahan right now. Well, if there is, we go get him. But I don't see nobody better. Do you?
So it ticks you off that people talk about firing Shanahan?
It definitely does. I mean, my thing is this, bro. Like I said, 4 NFC Championship games in 5 years, 2 Super Bowl appearances in 5 years.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Who else has done that? I mean, what else? Who else is better right now? Please tell me, because I don't know.
You know, one thing that was very interesting was that Belichick was on McAfee, I don't know, weeks ago.
Yeah.
And he goes, all of these guys that are going to get named as head coach candidates coming forward, like the prerequisite is you're good with the X's and O's, right? Like that's how people become coordinator to head coach. Is everyone like really likes you when it comes to the X's and O's. What you can't understand, and you will never know until you get the job, what happens when you find out about running the entire organization, and let's just say hypothetically, somebody's going through a divorce on your coaching staff.
Right.
When one of your players gets hurt away from the facility, gets in trouble legally away from how do you deal with that? Think about what the Niners had to deal with this year. Okay. A new head coach, whoever it is, just hypothetically, would have had to deal with Trent Williams holding out, Brandon Ayuk holding out. This has nothing to do with X's and O's, okay? The whole quarterback saga of, just what's happening with him financially, CMC getting injured months before the season even starts.
First round pick.
Your first round pick gets shot at Union Square? Like, again.
Return to Hufanga. You didn't know whether or not he was going to start the season or not.
These are all things that have nothing to do with X's and O's. And so I hear all of these people, get this guy, get that guy. Ben Johnson clearly knows X's and O's. I don't know if Ben Johnson can deal with all of this stuff of running a professional organization. What will happen to Dan Campbell? And I think he'll find someone good, but what happens when Dan Campbell has to find the next OC? Think of how many people Kyle has lost in the building over the last 7 years,
He's lost
8 years. A lot of guys.
He's lost a lot of guys.
At some point, you are going to have a down year, and you're going to run out of guys, and you just need a little reset. And maybe that's where we're at right now.
And the reset's not the worst thing in the world. It's not the worst thing in the world. We're not there yet, but it's not the worst thing in the world. You have a damn good head coach. You have a damn good quarterback. It's something to build around. We'll see about the rest of the assets here. We got to get Fred Warner back. When is Fred Warner? Fred Warner, something's got to be up with him, man. The play for Fred Warner has evaded him.
Did he make a play yesterday?
I don't remember Fred Warner making one play yesterday. Let's go to KC in Los Gatos. KC, what's happening?
Hey, guys. So the one word I would say is where the 49ers are right now, not just about yesterday's game, is predictable. And you guys just hit on it. We got a great sequel out in Gladiator 2 now. This is what you call, and I'm not saying it as a negative. You guys just said it. This is the end of an empire. This is when nobody is listening to the king. The king is only getting advice from people who are weasels and we're just in his ears. There's an echo chamber. You got a bunch of senators, bunch of players with their own agenda, want to get paid, which is okay, but everybody's talking and all that noise builds up. Then you guys get young players shooting, all that stuff happens. This is what happens. Now, who's the gladiator in 2025 who's going to get up and say, I got this? Can they find that guy? Can they find that? Because Deebo's not it anymore. Trent's not it anymore. And that's okay. This is what happens when guys get old. They play too many games, but you got to find the next guy. That's what football is about. And if Shanny can find the next guy, then he sticks around. And I'm not going to get rid of a guy who's turned the franchise around after what happened for the last 4 years after Harbaugh left. You don't get rid of a guy like that. You give him another chance and you keep at it. This year's a lost year, but so many things that happen. You can pick any one game and yes, stuff happens.
Yeah.
But this is it. Find your gladiator next year and go fight.
I'm watching the highlights right now on the television screen. It's been muted, but it's Baltimore Ravens versus the Niners in the Super Bowl, the Harbaugh Super Bowl, the Harbowl. And I'm just filled with so much sadness when I watch that. Like when the Warrior one of 2016 comes up, I get angry, but I know that hey, we won one on the front end, we won one after it, but I'm still angry.
Two after it, yeah.
But when I watch that Niners Super Bowl, I get so sad because I know that group of guys, that was their moment. They didn't cash it in. And I'm looking at this moment right now, this morning, and I'm thinking about what you had started the show with, which was the Super Bowl last year. And now I'm filled with just tremendous sadness.
I remember, and I'll share this with the audience before we go back out to the lines. We walked out that Super Bowl, and I was depressed. I was depressed. We ran into Katie Mox, and she gave us both hugs. And
no, she gave you a hug. She didn't know who I was.
She gave us both hugs.
It was just exactly how I planned it out.
She gave us both hugs. And then we saw Coach in Los Altos. Coach in Los Altos. And we saw his family, and I had a guy coming at me and whatnot. No Kingstown. Not today. Not today. I'm in a serious mood. I ain't here for the fun and games when I speak this out. But I remember talking to Anna, and I was in the hotel room thinking, I had a tear coming out of my eye saying, I think that was our best shot, and I don't think they're going to win it. I don't think we're ever going to win it with this group. We don't. We're not. And Super Bowl 54 felt like the beginning of a great run. Okay, yeah, I know you lost the Super Bowl, and I'm ticked off about it because it was a dream season, but these guys are young. Deebo's a rookie. Bosa's a rookie. Fred Warner's so young. You got a young Greenlaw here. Man, we got all the time in the world with Shanahan. We're just getting started. And you go through an NFC Championship loss to the LA Rams. And then you have to go through another season, and you lose a quarterback 6 plays into Philadelphia. And then you get all the way back, and you have the number 1 team offensively, and you get all the breaks in the world. Home field advantage. Oh, man, this is it. This is it. Health. Oh, my gosh. Detroit's not ready yet. Green Bay's not ready yet. KC's vulnerable. And you don't cash it in. And you move on, and you think about this offseason, you're saying, damn, as 2019 was the beginning of a great run, the Super Bowl loss probably was the end of a great run for this core. Because it's going to look different next year, Shasky. We don't know if IU's going to be back. We don't know if Trent's going to be back. We don't know if Deebo's going to be back. We don't know if Greenlaw's going to be back. He's a free agent. Hufanga, is he going to be back? He tore his ACL in November of last season. He hasn't been the same since. The fact is that the reality is set in that for this core, it feels like it's over for this core of playing in top-notch football games, high-profile games in the playoffs, defense in the playoffs, and that when they do get back to the mountaintop or if they do get back to the Super Bowl, it's going to be with a lot of different faces. And that's sad that this core group couldn't get it done, and they're going to end up in the same category and on the same bus at the same kitchen table as the Frank Gore, Patrick Willis, Navarro Bowman-led 49ers. Same group, same results. Couldn't quite get to the mountaintop.
I just don't know where they go. Like, for this year, like, where do you go from here? Like, what? Look, I know the season's not over, but what the hell do you do with CMC? I'm just going to rattle off some questions. Is Trent going to come back or what? Like, what's going on with Trent? Like, come on, Big Trent. We paid you $1 gazillion. You held out to the last second. You've been kind of meh this year. Are you coming back this year? Mm-hmm. What's going on, dude? Kind of looking at you side-eyed. The way you looked at Sherman that final year, that's the kind of way I've been looking at Trent this year. He's a great player, but like, what's up with Fred's ankle? Does Fred's ankle need off-season surgery? Because like a running back, I think I might need to take the linebacker off the field to save him from himself. Mm-hmm. Like, I need him to be good and right for next year. What are you doing with Bosa? Does he have 1 or 2 giant surgeries looming, like both sides of his body looming this offseason? If so, just do it now. Like, do it right now.
Well, he'll be able to recover. He'll be able to recover by the time training camp comes. He does that after the season.
Kittle went 3 months without lifting. 3 months.
Kittle's having a great season.
No,
maybe that was the break he needed. Yeah. We talk about playing. We just heard from Davey and Woody talking about sick and fork. They played in so many football games and their bodies been up. Maybe the rest is what Kittle needed.
Hence why I would just shut Bosa down now, like, because he's that important.
No, I pay him too much money to shut him down. I pay him too much money to shut him down.
This is my asset that I need good for next year, and I think
he'll be fine for next year. I really do, but I want to play him. By the way, Shanahan on the 12 men on the field penalties, on how the team committed 2 back-to-back too many men on the field penalties. Shanahan spoke up. Do we have the sound of that? You have the sound? Go ahead and play it, Spadone, if you can. Which one is it here? Is it on the penalties dealing with personnel? All right.
They had 12 personnel, 2 tight ends in the huddle, which means we have base defense out. They sent another receiver on the field to sub, which when they sub, they're supposed to allow us to sub. So as soon as they did that, we started to change our personnel, and then they rushed up to the line and snapped it. It was a strategic play by them, but one that I don't feel should have been allowed. They didn't give us time to sub on that, and that's why I was upset on that. And then the next one, because they got away with the first one, they tried to do it again the next play, and that's when I went out there arguing again. This time they did allow us to sub. I was out there screaming the whole time, so I'm not exactly aware of what happened with our 12 guys, but obviously we had 12 guys out there. They gave us time to sub, and we didn't get one off. So the second one was on us.
The new Niner defense, the 12th man. And they still couldn't stop them.
But look, that is something the league needs to do something about. You got to give these guys time to sub. Like, everybody gets a chance to sub, right? You got to give them, the officials they're not great. So Shanahan said, they didn't give us time to sub, and that's why I was upset. And he started screaming.
That's the worst part, though, is that they did give him an opportunity the second time around, and he was yelling so much that he wasn't even paying attention.
Well, that's where Sorensen's got to step up as a defensive coordinator to say, hey.
Well, that would require him to actually show some life on the sideline, which I don't. The guy looks like Weekend at Bernie's over there.
The beard looks great, though.
Does he not look like Weekend at Bernie's? He's just standing there. He's not doing anything. Hands in the hoodie pocket, just doing nothing. If we're going to do body language 101 last year, all year long, right? Sorensen, did the guy take a gummy, an edible? Maybe
he needs to go up to the booth, do the reverse Wilkes. Maybe that'll help, Bonta. What do you think?
Maybe Kyle just needs to call both sides of the game.
Who knew that in November 2024, that Steve Wilkes is a name that we still be talking about?
Can I just say this? Let me close the book on this. They both stink, all right? He was a little better. There's no question. I think the personnel was significantly better. He was really good for about 3.5 quarters in the Super Bowl. Not denying that. But Steve Wilkes isn't great either. Sorensen is a downgrade, shockingly. I don't know how.
415.
Impossible.
415. We need to stop screwing around with mediocre quarterback play. I love Purdy as best as the next guy, but if we keep meeting Mahomes in a big game, we need a proven stud at quarterback. And Purdy's not that guy. Purdy played well in the Super Bowl. He played all right. Played well enough to win.
I'm getting messages that Sorensen looks like he's the guy standing right like around the keg, like asking if he can get a hit of that.
Or just get a cup or a hit of weed.
Yeah, the
old around the keg.
Smoking circles.
Yeah, just say
Puff pass.
Just say it. We're in 2020.
Make it last.
I mean, my guy, dude, come on, dude. Like, how back-to-back 12-man penalties?
I knew this would happen.
What?
With Sorensen before the year, with the way he looked and everything and his demeanor. You just knew it was a matter of time before the finger starts getting pointed out his body language.
Well, you wait till Brandon Staley comes down to that booth.
You can stop asking that question. You don't have to ask that again.
Yeah, you guys are, zero blitzes.
He runs a 3-4.
Zero blitzes. Cover zero blitzes.
Honest to God, I would, the simplest change, and I'm not saying it'll turn them into some elite defense, just get Devontae Campbell off the field, for Christ's sake.
Man.
Get him off the field. I don't care how many mistakes D. Winters makes. Just play the young guys.
Devontae Campbell wasn't his fault yesterday, man.
He's not good either, though.
It wasn't his fault.